Well, good morning as we're sitting here on Thursday morning, December 21st, year 2023, here with the Hello Hello Show. And my name is Haim Mizrahi, continuing with the tradition of public access and the tradition of the Hello Hello Show that's been on the air since 1980. Of course, not to fail to mention the contribution by Fraser Dougherty, Francis Ann, and of course, the likes of you out there to make it your business to enhance and fortify this concept. And rightfully so, as we gain as a community, as individuals, from the smallest group that one can imagine to the entire entity of the United States of America, and for that sake, the globe. I cannot not see benefit when it comes to the ability of the individual to have the right and the privilege to express himself, herself, themselves, and to do it anytime, any place, and then of course maintaining that level of decency and and neatness, spiritual neatness, um, and social correctness, and values that cannot disappoint you or betray you once you exercise what they stand for. LTV and public access, for that sake, helps you maintain that attitude, helps you create that attitude to begin with, and also helps you maintain it. And because sometimes you realize that maintenance is really more difficult than the invention itself, of the concept itself. But I like to be playful with the words, especially when it comes to public access, and all this whole idea of poetic, that which provides you access, that which allows you to have an individual personal stage, that which encourages you to actually go at it and do it, because the thing won't do itself. And then of course the whole aspect of the fact that which is present, and that you can sometimes learn also how to sit back and enjoy and take it easy, because you don't fear uh, that it's not going to be there when you return, or it's not going to be there while you are actually consumed by it and saturated with it, in a good way, of course. In addition to that, you know that the concept is there, and also the space to welcome you is there also. But in this day and age, really, if you think about it, if you I mean, even if you live in a place where you're not allowed to express yourself and to behave in a way that spells freedom and experimentations and abstraction, and yes, and inventing the combination all the way between uh, impressionism through modern, towards expressionism, and towards just also that kind of a basic uh, middleness, I call it, where you assume and you expect everyone to feel comfortable once they find themselves on this surface. So I can appreciate what Fraser Dougherty did there. Was a great teacher without knowing that he was a teacher, without meaning to be a teacher. A person that came to this station, the first 10, 15, 20 years, you talk, I mean, literally every second of his life was consumed by it. But let's just put the obsession aside. What he had to show for was really that indeed he was there. And he was there realizing that it's a must to be able to repeat the the process, made may it be long or short, but that repetition is a healthy one. It's almost like when I went to visit the great Dr. John Sarno, that actually wrote some books about TMS, tension myositis syndrome, and really one of the few, if not the only person in the world that has solutions for all these ailments and and the body issues, yeah, all the way from the joints and the ligaments and the skeleton and the spine and the vertebrae and the that which is hard and that which is soft, and all these areas, and their totality leads you to the aspect, to the mental aspect, to yesterday and 100 years ago, the similarity between the relationship between that understanding into the relationship of the presence of the skeleton and all that follows. And it goes right down to hook with your imagination, as your imagination is in motion constantly. And once you hook with it through the awareness and understanding of TMS that Dr. J. Sauner um, practiced, you realize that it's really gaining speed and power, even though when you encounter it first, it's powerful and speedy, so to speak. But it, in the same in the same token, you like he was. I went to a few sessions with him, and I realized that actually he's repeating himself, saying certain things over and over again. And I didn't dare to say, but why are you doing it? How come? And what is it all about? Because you don't doubt the master. I mean, this person is a master. Fraser Dougherty was a master. He was a master of the approach, a master of the concept. The concept was pre-existing, but he took it, understood in his own unique way what it meant for him, and of course adapted the universal aspect of what it really stands for. And the combination of the two is deadly. Now, 1980, 1979, 78, 79, having this person being, maybe, I don't know, 50 something, 50 years old, or early 50s, and into this reality, as a fact that it took something greater than your ability to place yourself there and say, I could have done that. Or maybe you could have. Maybe you would have been successful, but you don't even bother yourself to contemplate this scenario. You just want to look at the person and do your own simple math and say, this with this equals this and that. The man is a genius. The man is a superman. And you look around you, and I would have like breakfasts or lunches and gatherings and conversations with Fresh Dougherty. And sometimes he would approach me and he would kind of make me feel like he has an announcement, and I'm like all ears, like, yeah. And then I look at him and I realize he's just telling me something that he said probably 1,000 times. But it's not like he's not aware what's going on. It looks like he gives you the feeling as if he's telling you, he's telling it for the first time. Uh, so I realized that the greatest thing that I could do is just kind of keep to myself and not even pretend that I don't know what's going on, don't see what's going on. And even if I do, who cares? The individual in front of you doesn't care. He doesn't care because he already had to have had these kind of reservations and thoughts and made decisions already on how to go to bypass all these energy draining factors and to really kind of, you know, land running, land right into the rhythm, and only minor adjustments in order to kind of be compatible with the with what it really means as you kind of initiate it and you start going. And but then when I, let's say I had an interaction with him, then I go home or go about my way, and then I start thinking, I said, why would he do that? Then you realize the power of simplicity, first of all, the power of not taking yourself too, and the ability too seriously, the power and the ability not to make a big deal out of anything, even if it is a big deal, even if it is that which you would like to prefer not to think that it is. It doesn't matter. It's one and the same. And that simplicity comes because a person reaches a level of complexity and profoundness that allows them to be so casual and decide, well, now I'm going to just kind of have a chilling out uh, approach to everything, and then I'm just going to be like that, easy or not easy or whatever. I'm just going to be that, yeah, and I'm going to be still able to continue with the agenda. What's on the agenda? I can. I might as well just kind of. I'm hiding my glasses here, so nobody knows it's here but me. But what I'm saying, so what is uh, realizing that these people like Fraser Doherty, not Dr. G. Sarno, that helped hundreds of thousands of people, this is not fiction. It may be fiction for those who don't understand it, and if those who don't understand it will try to, um, and therefore don't accept it, try to actually behave as if they do, it's really not going to get them far. Now, I don't say that there are no exceptions to the rule, but still, here you're talking about someone who's telling you, whatever it is that I'm going to tell you, that I'm not so sure that I'm going to end up telling you, so don't take it like I'm going to just give you anything here. But I'm just telling you that this is no nonsense approach that has no place for non-believers. Like people that at first you can look at them and say they're pretty harsh, they're pretty rude, or they're pretty like whatever. What is it? But they don't care. They don't care because they have so much to. They have to maintain the availability of supplying the goods for those that happen to be accepted as believers. It sounds religious, but it's not religious at all. Even though it will become your own religious because you would feel like you're believing in something that you do, and by doing so, you excited and believing in something that a superpower allowed you to have in order to be able to do, and for that to appreciate. So appreciating the source is a no-brainer. It's called for. And you should be happy that actually you don't have to go through hell to arrive to these realizations, profound realizations, while you're exercising the whole complex scenario around with something fairly simple, fairly easy to use, definitely user friendly. So it doesn't matter who they were. Alan Plants in poetry, my mentor. Fraser Doherty, my father almost, and my mentor also, the one that tells me public access is all about allowing you to just kind of be, so much so that you can think about the place that you live and the people that are residents of that place, and suddenly all of your kind of beliefs in the shape of that kind of composition and skeleton is superimposed on the layout of the human material, so to speak, and you're like um, um, uh, thinking about communication, especially the early age of the upgraded uh, reality, constantly upgraded reality of communication, the progress and all this took place on daily basis. Even though progress is taking place now, but not in the level that we can relate to. 50 years ago, it was like you see any little tiny thing that came out, and maybe a faster machine or this that was noticeable. It was all over the place. So he wants to think about you. I mean, listen to this. If that's not genius, then I don't know what is. If that's not the sweetest of sweet, I don't know what it is. So he wants to sit with this concept, with the environment that's ripe for this, for telling you communication is maybe number one. And then also, I happen to have that space where you can actualize the knowledge that you're going to acquire from trying to understand this concept and trying to understand the entity that allows you and provides you with it. Like, let's say, the government saying, you can do that. And by the way, we are highly recommend for you to do that. We think it's a good thing for you, for us, for everything. Um, and then you're just amazed, and in the middle of your amazement, the state will come to you and say and remind you and say, hey, why aren't you getting up and doing it? I thought we already made it clear. So now you're realizing, okay, there's someone who's thinking about you. Fraser the Guard Dougherty was one of them. Alan Plants was one of them. Great poet, great poet. No nonsense, comes from a center that belongs to him 1,000%. but that center he always believed that is yours also because he was sharing something that was uh, he was sharing something that belonged to everything and everyone, kind of thing. I'm exaggerating a little bit, but he thought about you. He thought about the importance of him reading his poems or his um, whatever storytelling, artistic storytelling approach to poetry and everything. He knew of the importance of that, what really means on the surface. Fraser Dougherty, when he was sitting here or in the old facility at Springs Fireplace, he used to think about you. He used to think about your well-being, your life being made easy because there is something out there available that the authorities are aware of, mindful of it, encouraging it, and supporting it also. Obviously, money and issues and whatnot. And this individual that sits in the midst of all that, trying to found it with some believers around him, is is what it really means on the surface is it's called slaving for. That's called so much work, even though it's available. It's at everyone's disposal. It's this and that, but he needs to think about constructing the infrastructure, maintaining it to a point where it's with the level of decency and expected what is it lifespan, will be uh, sufficient enough. You need 20, 30, 40 years at least that once you kind of push it and let it really be on its own, they will be self-sufficient. So he made it so well they didn't really need anything for 3, 4 decades, as we're actually now only approaching LTV that represents public access at the east end of Long Island on what kind of changes, but not changes, but additions, more like it, adding layers and adding that which is new and worthy of being implemented into the already existing wonderful foundation called LTV that again represents purely and directly the concept of public access and what it really means, and it means a lot of things. So now I sit across from Fraser Dougherty and I say, "You're the friggin' genius. He's a genius. Forget about. I don't even want to talk about hard work, or work ethics, or work. Period. I mean, you're talking. There's no way to describe the level of commitment and also talent and capability. So you can find Fraser Dougherty in the morning show having the camera, like that's all you see. That's all you see. And a profile with his nose and his two-thirds of his forehead and one half of his chin. And he sits like this. And at first you don't know what the heck is going on. You look at that. And in those years, and since I took it, uh, it was given this show by Fraser Dougherty. It was 2 hours. It was 2 hours in the morning, 7 to 9, and it was 2 hours at night, midnight to 2 a.m. I mean, it was 4 hours out of the 24 hours on the air. When I received it from Fraser Dougherty, still for the first 8 years from 99 to 2007, it was still 2 hours in the morning, 2 hours at night. Now, this guy used to sit with the camera there. Sometimes you don't even see anything. You see, it's so zoomed in into his face, you see everything blurry. And he's doing his thing, and you see his lips moving, and you hear his words, and it's almost like it's a perfect shot, which is not. It wasn't. It was weird, but he's talking and functioning as if it doesn't matter. The camera doesn't matter. What matters is that you can see me somewhat, and you can hear what I have to say. And time goes by, and the show is beginning and ending. And and 2 hours ago, I was actually entering the building and putting the key and turning and opening the door. These are the kind of things that ran in his head. Now it wasn't temporary. It wasn't like today I feel this way, today I see it this way. No, it was one and the same all the time for years and years and years. That's why maybe he was a little insensitive now and then, which was excusable. Believe me, it's a small price to pay to be abused by Fraser Dougherty in order to gain access to his in his presence, the proximity saying, okay, it's not a bad idea at all to spend some close time with a person that is so convinced and so dedicated and provides so much goodness to a community. So, and it shows. You look around, you see the fruits of that. Fraser and a small group of other people dedicated um, erected a wonderful concept, a wonderful institution. I don't know if I should call it institution, a group, an entity, a concept that is derived from the source and the heart of art and the artistic process. And that's another thing, you know. First years I was thinking about public access, and I said, "What the heck? It's just like every day is a different feeling." So you don't know what's important, what's not important. And then quickly enough, you decide that actually you're going to have a certain attitude towards this whole technical aspect surrounding it. So you can put it to rest. And so you can really, really, now it's like 75-25. You want it to be 10-90, you know, you want to have 90% availability. In that sense, they will be just like um, blah, blah free, you know, kind of thing. And, and, and you'll be amazed how quickly it it will give, it will do what you want it to do. It's like miraculous. So I would find myself, you know, just like what I'm doing now, sitting here. Obviously, I'm going to do an hour of monologue, you know. When I don't sit around here thinking, oh, I'm going to do a monologue, or I'm going to talk about this or that. I know that as soon as I open up and talk about public access and saying, continuing with the tradition of public access and not to fail to mention the contribution by Fresh Doherty and Francis and the likes of you out there, that you know either knowingly or unknowingly adds so much to the enhancement of that concept and its durability and longevity. So you don't even have to know that it's taking place. It is taking place. So as I cannot not be able to deliver a lengthy, somewhat coherent, mostly avant-garde monologue. Yeah, not only I can do it and will do it, I'll do it without thinking that I'm actually doing it or being aware that this is what's happening. I'm aware that something important is happening, yes, but not that something specifically so specific that I know that that specific thing is happening. That's that's not you know, that's not a factor in my head that will derail me, slow me down, anything. And where do I get that from? This is just a little touch out of hundreds of other things that you can learn from a master. So this is such a kind of attitude I learned from Fraser Dougherty without him really directly teaching me to do that or to understand that what it is, what is he would it would be, as far as learning from him directly, it would be it depends on the fact that he has something to tell me and he thinks that this is I'm going to preach you for 5 minutes and say thank you and you should be that lucky, which was the case. But at the end of the day, if you would allow him to enter your life, you definitely see the benefits of it, because down the road, uh, when you go back to your studio and you realize that the day before, because you're going to the studio every day, if not twice a day, definitely the concept of a studio is the concept of public access, is the concept of having LTV, is this the concept of having a secondary home, that somewhat of a undeniable um, security. You know, I'm not exaggerating. Security, safety. You know, something like that. So so just by looking at him immediately, if you really want to be a part of it, which I always wanted, and since 1986, 87, I was like, I'm not that much less excited about what's this is all about than 37, 38 years ago, which I was very excited. So nowadays you realize how, thank God for having entities such as LTV and what concept they stand for and what values they have to bring forth. Available values, efficient, alive, uh, accessible. And then you look at the world around and say, what the heck? You know, if you look around the world, the situation is kind of so bad, and I don't think really it's bad, but so bad just as a form of speech, yeah? That actually You cannot address problems as problems. Let's say you try to alleviate the pain or the pressure, and you want to address certain things, and you want to start pointing out the things that you want to address because they need to change, to listen to more or less, to be modified, whatever it is, that kind of change where the system itself will already kick in and do it for you. But first, you have to have the awareness and the willingness to say, okay, you know what, go ahead. You got my go ahead. No big deal. You don't have to report back, and the system is already kicking it in. It's no big deal. Even if it doesn't really work to your expectations, still the change is evident. But this is happening constantly. When this happens constantly, so out of 178 times that is happening in one day, 21 really work. I mean, it's like, and you don't gamble. You don't do it like saying, well, I'm going to do that many because getting 20 out of it is unheard of. It's unimaginable. You don't think about it this way because the subject matter under discussion is one of which you put in place, you formed, you put together, you invented. It's completely yours. It's so much so yours that you can use it without exposing it to the viewer. You found a way that you can use it without making it available to be reused by others, but only to be viewed and experienced visually, interacting, sharing from that kind of dryness, wetness, kind of alive, and otherwise kind of moving fast, moving too, not moving fast enough, moving too fast, kind of thing, and and it's uh, it, more than one can handle. So even if you were to wish upon yourself to win the lottery of something, and you actually do win, and then you realize that you are in a void, instant void, because there was no um, plans in place on how you're going, what it would really mean to prevail and to be lucky and to suddenly become and and so what does it mean if you won $10 million if suddenly you find yourself mute and lame, kind of thing, in a shock that you don't even know you can get out of it, kind of thing. It's almost that kind of distractive aspect of the avalanche of goodness type of thing, like 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 you wake up from this nightmare of saying, wait a second, I thought that the avalanche of goodness cannot hurt you, but I forgot to mention to myself that an avalanche is an avalanche is an avalanche is an avalanche. It's deadly. Most probably you'll be buried alive and eaten into submission and evaporate into Mother Earth in matters of hours. So so then you're reluctant and maybe cautious in the future and say, okay, you know what? I can take it easy. I don't have to slow down, but I can take it easy only because I need to appreciate those in between happenings, occurrences, that I happen to understand now that everything is important. There's no more important than or less important than. It's just equally important, equally intense. And that's how you actually also balance this intense potential exhaustion and all that which can follow um, by just maintaining that kind of a coherent balance, even something cliche can adamant, but just the consciousness that it needs a TLC of a very specific certain kind. But the good news is that when you have this kind of attitude, you're always available. You're available. You're there. If people would have to judge and estimate and make an evaluation, they will they won't have a chance not to consider you, not to mention you, because you will be all over the place. This is a given. Now I have to remind myself of something I thought about, something that I need to do. really need to do, and I don't want to forget doing it. So here's a pen, and here's a piece of thing. Then I'm going to write here. Oh, yes, very good. Um, High resolution. HR. Very good. Uh, don't want to forget. Okay. This is good. Don't go away. Okay. So you want to reduce that kind of level of anxiety, but it's going to continue fast. But this helps you become more acquainted with and be reassured, even though you know things for sure here and there. It's not a bad idea to be reassured, constantly reassured, for that sake. And that takes place, and you look around, and now you can venture. Venturing into, I don't know, where quickly enough you realize that the more progress take place, the greater the chances you find yourself in an alternative parallel space, i.e., reality that belongs to you in a way that you can really exercise most of the potentially frustrating ingredients, aspects of the journey that you're involved in the other reality become like a commodity, like something that you not only have the time to do it, but the mindset, the general feeling, the emotional conditioning or condition, the mental level of compatibility with immediate environments um, is just a very seamless export on your behalf, import, and then there you find that you can actually uh, uh, enjoy the fruits of your effort from that other parallel reality, so to speak, but nothing too holistic, nothing too alien like, nothing too creatures from wherever unknown came and visited us, and what does it mean, and all this, of course, doesn't exist. It shouldn't exist for people like myself, and it doesn't exist. Yeah, I won't claim that if I bump into a phenomena that I cannot explain, that I won't be somewhat scared. If I'm going somewhere and I bump into something and nothing is in front of me, but it feels like there's invisible entity, energy there, that's going to be something that I'm going to be, I'll be scared. I would be scared because it's the unknown. But the probability that it will happen is so freakily impossible almost, yeah, even though nothing is impossible. That to begin with, I will not put a plan in place. What if that's going to happen to me? Because planning it is a lot of work. I don't like to work hard for a probability of 1 to 17,000 trillion. It's like, yeah, well, yeah, I wouldn't. So I'd like to, um, I'd like to think that if and when it will happen and I'll be picked up, and for my bad luck, maybe I will be able to turn it to good luck. So I'll be able to address it because it's not that which derives this machine to carry the message when it vibrates energetically, and that's how it's actually interacting the flesh with the material. Uh, it 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 will. Uh, I don't know if you can say harmonically, but the harmony will be obvious and evident. The from the actual inner inertia, if I want to use the word inertia. So inertia from that alone, comes the surprisingly the clear understanding of what's really it's all about when you look at an equation of some sort, when you look at a composition that Mother Nature formed, and it happens to be visible and clear in front of you, and you're amazed because you understand what you're seeing. It's almost like Abraham. Abraham was the first astrologer. He's the person that looked into the sky and and the stars and all this, and he just realized that he can really understand what's going on. It's a story revealed to him in front of him, clear. It's not like it was gradual. It was like he can. Do you think everyone was scared? Maybe, but not for long. Because then he just reiterated his understanding of the fact of how he felt most of his life, that there is a God, and that God is one, God is everything, and everything is God, and that and nothing beats believing in God, like putting your money where your mouth is, kind of thing. Really showing for that which you kind of believe and indirectly promote. So, so when art, especially your medium, comes into the equation, and if you're part of that concept that you want uh, to communicate by way of expressing yourself, and you want to, maybe even if your style is a little too alternative and people having a hard time understanding you, rely on your knowledge and the fact of what this knowledge means about yourself, that actually you don't really give a damn, but you care very much so. There's a way to combine the two. That attitude of I don't give a whatever, it doesn't really concern me, and I have my own reasons, I'm going to keep it my own, as close as possible to my chest. But on the other hand, I'm going to show you so much care, concern, and regard that you will be overwhelmed. You won't even know where it's coming from. Why? Because I am equipped and compatible with what it requires from me, and I know that it's at my disposal and it's available. And if I need to use it, uh, I'll have it to be used, and I'll know how to use it. So things like that, things of that nature. So if you are really an artist, not just this producer, if you're really an artist, you write books, novels, you play piano, you play guitar, whatever. But you're professional, you're classican, you're like fusion, you're like jazz rock, you're everything. You know your equipment, you know your instrument, you know it. You know the pianic aspect of the piano from within. You know the visual. You know the ocean of availability in terms of endless amount of configurations, and you're okay with it. So you want. So then now it's time. Now it's time. Now it's imperative that you should throw your talent into that vacant space in front of you. Because how does it show itself? It shows itself with provide a provision of space. First, it approaches you and says, "Here, here. Don't don't say anything. You don't have to say anything. Here, you already understand. You jump into it. You better jump into it. This is going to be your studio." I had a studio for 16, 17 years in East Hampton with Sylvia Tenenbaum. What a wonderful individual. She passed away, I think, about 5, 6, 7 years ago at age 87, 88. A wonderful individual. She allowed me to stay and to rent her studio, and so generous. There were months and months and months that I had a hard time paying my rent and whatnot. And she always used to tell me, I swear, I mean, if you don't need someone like this in your life, then I don't know what you need. She used to come and tell me, I don't want you to worry about anything. I used to cry from this level of goodness. She used to tell me, I don't want you to worry about anything. I want you to go and paint. Sometimes I would have conversations with her as I roll into the house because the studio was in the back. And we would have conversations. And suddenly she would like wake up and say, Haim, go paint. She had my back so purely and so completely that this feeling I used to take to the studio. When I look at some of my paintings today, some of them I think are just crazy good. Not all of my work is crazy good, but some of it is really good. And I try to understand the nature of it. And I can pinpoint it into times where these times were the times where I had this complete support by a person that comes out of complete and nothing but love and care and compassion and feeling responsible, feeling like this is important for me to tell you how much it's important for you. Go ahead. Don't worry. I got you covered. I got your back. Like this, as cliche as it might sound. And you take it places. You take it. You take it. I used to go to the studio and say, Shh, F me. I'm like, what the heck? How am I going to catch up with this, the extent of that revelation now? This revelation hits you and you don't know Jesus from Moses. It's already like it already owns the horizon and you didn't even begin to understand what it really is. What does it stand for? What's its nature? What's its message? What's the voice? What's the so but then you sober up, you come to, and you realize that you have what it takes. Even though the moment is great and the shooting of that revelation into to the horizon to become a part of the horizon is almost like for people who don't know better, they will be crushed. It will be over for them. But I felt like I think I can handle it. Why? Because the technique that was worked on for years and building the right attitude kicked in for you automatically. At least at the beginning, it will do the essential work for you. So this is not going to be slipping away. A once in a lifetime opportunity to not only benefit from all this, but having the chance to show gratitude and to thank. You want to gain as much closeness to that source so you can thank the source and say, thank you. I do not take this for granted. I embrace it. I thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And the others on the other side, they will hear not only what you're saying, but the genuineness of it all, how it feels to them. They will be aware that it's coming from a good source and a source that means it. That thank you, that display of gratitude is real. They know it's real because it comes out of this reality that is non wavering and clean cut and crisp. So, from here, the rest is easy. The rest is just finding time. You'll never find yourself saying, oh, I had a bad day in my studio, or I couldn't paint today, or it just didn't come out. It wasn't, and if it did, not the way I want. You won't hear yourself saying that. It will be simply greatness. And again, I'm not saying greatness in the modernistic outlook of it all, or even just like speaking of uh, the necessity to feel, you know, self-important or something. I don't know, whatever. That's not the case at all. But you you realize that that feeling of smoothness, of since everything is in motion, you realize that actually you're part of this kind of moving vehicle, and it it's working. It gets you where you need to go. Your immediate environment is very supportive. It's like you feel like every time you're just about to complain about some kind of discomfort, metaphorically speaking or not, it's not happening. Your kind of wishes are granted, your problems are being resolved and solved. Mother Nature has a way of showing its gratitude by way of being appreciating and grateful for efforts of people to be mindful, to be caring, to be observant, to be loyal, to be dedicated, to be supportive, to be a friend, to be a provider of comfort, stability, balance, and just an extra kick to expedite the process when needed. A consoling entity that approaches you without any doubt about what its intentions are. And even if you'll be confused a little bit at the beginning, you would realize quickly enough what you're getting here, what kind of the nature of this provision that is suddenly being a part of the equation. That equation is your participation in something new, yet in something that you worked for and with so hard for so long. But now it's one notch up, So you kind of the questions are kind of look familiar, but they're not familiar so much, and then you have to realize that you need to focus. You need to kind of shift into a zone of focus that requires just a little more work. And even though you know that you got what it takes to deliver, you still want to make sure, and that's the right thing to do. Now, who benefits from all that? Guess what? Societies cannot ever lose if its population, its human material, is uh, yearns for the engagement in that process called the artistic process. That there's nothing, and you go in and you come out and there's something, something out of nothing, entering the nothing to achieve something and bringing it out. So it's not only just kind of from nothing to something, from 0 to 100, and that's it. So it's like from 0 to 100 and then carrying the 100 back to the zero. So you start with 100 and you don't go to zero. There's only one time that you go from 0 to 100 or from zero up. That's the first point of impact, takes you to 100, but then you have to come back with the 100, back to square one, start again. And then when you go from 100, you go to 100 plus, you're tightening everything up. Now, you don't continue up. You're going to go back to that kind of whatever other number is forming. And in eternity is an impossible scenario, especially because it's so much the opposite of impossible. I don't know if that makes sense. That which is the opposite to impossible is the possibility to accept the viability, the logic, the balanced point of reference of this. Just in case we forget, and just in case we don't get caught in ripples or a current. You know how the ocean is. Even if you're a skilled swimmer, you go there and then suddenly you disappear. Suddenly you're swollen. It doesn't have to be so violent, but it's very challenging. And the thing is that because things happen so fast and they're danger, what poses danger is the fact that you don't have time to react. So even your experience at those moments doesn't become unconditionally available. And in those minutes, in those seconds, you can be a goner. You're gone. You're back to God. So, yeah, well, I don't know. I don't want to be too dramatic in that sense. But drama is what you get from beginning to end, and how sweet it is. I can't even begin to describe it to you. But at the end of the day, no matter what, you, the musician, you, the poet, you, the writer, you, the painter, you know, you gather and there's like, a, a body of work, of paintings, and you don't even talk about art or beauty or appealing or whatever. It's just there. And then in reciting poetry, there's just like pages and pages of written prose and then just musical composition, just like those notes are there, impeccably beautiful looking. You know, this is at the end of that fraction of time, just a little one, just the one that you decided to pause on and to rest for a while. Because after all, you're a human being. You need to have a little snack and to rest. And how did I start all this? By talking about public access. That which provide you with the access and make it makes it his business to erect the stage for you and to think about an acceptable level of comfort and a pleasing point of reference, point of initiation to start the first jump from that. Um, and the rest is, yeah, you know what? I never felt like I'm cheating just because I get so much help. I'm talking about energies that surround me, that help me. Suddenly they become a, a different kind of feelings that indicates or suggests to you that's indeed that's what's taking place. So, uh, let's see. Yeah. So just because I don't, well, it's too late to say I don't want to confuse you because probably what took place here in the last 15 minutes, 50, uh, did nothing but confusing you. But I wanted to show you how when you these are the attempts to mm, mm. And like someone is trying to tune a piano in the next studio, the next door studio. Okay, let's see what it says here. Oh, yeah. Okay, very good. So, this is an example. Okay. So, you're like, this is all in the meanwhile, while things take place, let's just say. I was told, as it was already widely known, a hush move found its way in during the night. I was not a part of the infrastructure involved. I was a suggester of some kind blowing hot air, but still, nevertheless, blowing a grieve or two added. Aid was quickly enough to become a far-fetched possibility. What if it wasn't to become the little bit it meant to be? What if it was hovering over the canal while crossing ideas, many of which will not see the light of day? Darkness, love of most improbable blasts, awakens a scared duty, scarred, that is to say, a sense of beauty, duty, leveraging with a dance, a move for compassionate's sake, a slick, a sleek move direction unknown, looking back so early in the process to qualify with much hesitation, though it might still be the slow motion of goodness in action. Otherwise, stop the whole vessel moving forward. It doesn't have to be that. That's it. Self inferiority. This feeling that I am. Temper of fame mixed with triple action, pointing, pointing. It's you, it's me, it's the middle with a hole, WHOLE, with a hole in the middle. Some say go ahead, I got your back. Make believe as a ruler, as the crowd is not happy. Trap written soul bending, some kind of a slash division. The handling of the body, the handling of the body. Roll drums of bearing through the skies, with or without the fee handling. Sweet somber feelings belong to the outmost, and a bit of shyness, drastic for the end of the day. Not too, not so relatable, my darling. You are so far by now, unknown, not known, grimly spared, and with a whole manner of the civil handling, of the whole manner of the civil handling, and slight additions to be turned at another point, grasping the meal, branding tastefully, and an eye out of concern for typical slow grip and whole guidances. You don't belong, bold with some dare mysterious hand-handed, joyous platform grabber for guesswork, sliding by and on the return back to bathing, napping with delight and some fast tracks. Something like that. I and the thing is that there are thousands like this, and it's like you say, out of 178, 21 are great phrases, sentences, words, compositions, poems, stories, short stories, hundreds, and then some pearls are there shining. A wonderful feeling. We're going to be here tomorrow as much as we were here yesterday, and as much as we're here this morning. This morning is what? December 21st, year 2023, Thursday morning, here at LTV Studios with the Hello Hello Show. My name is Haim Mizrahi. I want to wish you Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy New Year. It's coming. And it's a wonderful feeling. I hope you're all ready um, with your families, with your friends, with your loved ones. And we wish you here from LTV blessings for the holidays and Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. That goes without saying. And we love you. We appreciate you. And we know you're out there in full force. And also make it your business to come visit here with the group monthly art exhibitions. Now we have on display Josh Dayton, Steve Lotion, and Haim Mizrahi. Opening reception Saturday, January 6th from 4 to 6:30. We love you. Take good care.